Oh, it's payday. I went to Menard's as it got cold on us real quick here in central Illinois, and there wasn't no heat in this trailer. So I've been heating the place with, just opening the oven. And I got that kerosene heater there I found on the side of the road. But kerosene's just way too expensive. So I'm going to be putting up this 5,000 watt 220 heater. I got the heater and some shit to wire it. Got a line voltage thermostat, 30 amp breaker, double pole breaker of course because it is 220, box to mount the thermostat in, and 50 feet of 10 gauge Romex. And I had already cut this tape before I got the camera out. Manual. Boy, I'm a bit surprised at how loosely packaged this is. There's no packing material. The heater's just flopping around in here loose. Makes me wonder if somebody had already bought this thing and it was a return. Let me get this out of the box. Well, there it is out of the box. Got 3 different angles you can mount it at. And unfortunately, it does not include a lag bolt to bolt it to the ceiling. And I did not pick one up. Hopefully I can dig up something so I don't have to go back out. Well, unfortunately, after some digging around, I found I don't have any lag bolts. Luckily, I did have some Romex staples, but I'm going to have to go buy a fucking lag bolt. Now, luckily, there is an Ace Hardware just around the corner, so I ain't got to run my ass all the way back to Menard's, which is in Forsyth. I'm in Decatur. So it'd be like a 20-minute drive to Menard's. But luckily, there's the Ace Hardware around the corner, so I'll just go there and pick up a fucking lag bolt. Be back with y'all. Okay, I got the shit here. I needed lag bolts and conduit fittings. Well, NM cable clamps, I mean, for the Romex cable. I didn't have these either. And the more I look at this heater, the more I'm thinking that this was a return, because there was the lack of packing material, the lack of any installation parts or accessories. This piece of foam was the only thing other than the owner's manual that was in there. This owner's manual looks like it's been handled. It's all dirty and folded up and shit. And the heater's got little spots like that on it. There's a little bit of yellow shit in there. And then on the bottom, looks like it was drug across concrete or some other rough surface. But I can tell it was never used because the knockouts for the wiring compartment are intact. So nobody's ever wired it up and installed it. And if I open up the wiring compartment, I should be able to confirm that. I got my multi-tool here on this heater. You just undo this one little screw here. see. Looks pretty untouched in here. Well, one of those lugs is up. Well, if it works, that's all I care. Because hopefully I won't even be in this fucking trailer much longer anyway. Well, start the installation process. Brackets up, and here's a good sign of how shittily built this trailer is. As I was cranking that lag bolt into the ceiling joist, the ceiling panel just sort of split from the molding there. Fucking piece of shit. Well, that's not good. Just fucking pulled right out of the ceiling. Okay, upon investigation, this is what I found. When I cranked that fucking lag screw into this cheap, thin little wood they used for ceiling structure, it fucking split. Damn. Should have pre-drilled my hole. I don't think I have any drill bits, but then again, I really should have checked to see if I do. Oh well, I'll have to find somewhere else to mount it. Well, damn. If only I'd have looked in my stuff a little more, I'd have found that I've got this Harbor Freight screw extractor set that has drill bits, and one of them is totally big enough for use with that lag screw. Oh well, you live and you learn. I'm going to put the heater over here in this corner. That right there seems good. Oh, you fucking... Oh, I got the clutch set. Just realized I'm doing that right over my open computer. I'm just fucking everything up today. I work third shift at a factory. I'm a welder. just got off work a couple hours ago after working all night, so my mind is tired. But my body is cold, and I want this fucking heater installed. So, back in a minute. Oh, and for anybody wondering about that shirt hanging up, my broke ass can't afford to do laundry, so I had to hose my clothes off in the bathtub and just hang them in here to dry. Hopefully I don't hear that shit split. It's going in tight, so it means that drill bit wasn't too big. Oh shit. All I got to work with is a cheater bar. I don't have no fucking 1/2-inch ratchet. I used to have a 1/2-inch electric impact gun, but before I left Truman, Arkansas, some jackass broke into my building where I stored all my shit and stole all my power tools. So the only thing I have that can work with 1/2-inch sockets is this cheater bar. Well, don't hear anything splitting. Okay. Get the heater up. Cheap, flimsy little bracket they use. Yeah, I'm looking down there. Luckily, my computer is still running, which I figured it would. Dry sawdust shouldn't hurt it. Okay. Now, it's mounted, and I can almost hang off of it. So, it is in there good this time. It ain't going to rip out of the ceiling again. I'm taking a few steps back. Actually, I think it looks better in that corner anyway. And yes, I drew that dick on the wall. One night I was drunk and bored. And no, I'm not queer. I have, for those of you who have seen my other videos, I have a female real doll. Okay, so now that the wiring is done, not wiring, now that the hanging is done, get the wiring done. Okay, I'm going to put the electrical box for the thermostat, yeah, about right there. Drew an outline for it. This is where the original heating thermostat was, because there was originally a central furnace in here, but some crackhead previous owner ripped that out of here and replaced it with some jury-rigged piece of junk that had a rusted out heat exchanger. So I'm going to get that cut. Okay, first thing I'm going to try here is cutting with my multi-tool. Don't think that's a saw, but let's try the knife, because this is cheap, thin, crappy paneling from 1967, so yeah, shouldn't put up too much of a fight. Yeah. The only electric tool I have that could do this is my Sawzall, but that's just too messy. That's not going to make a precise cut. Okay, this is getting it done. Just had to get it through. Just got to be careful not to slice through my hand with this. So you know what, I got something better. You got one type of serrated blade kitchen knife here. I think this blade might be too thin and too much of a pussy. These teeth might not be deep enough. Here's a bread knife I bought for the purpose of cutting foam insulation. But it appears that this wall may be too thin for the serrated part of the blade to reach. And it appears I'm cutting in at an angle. Okay. Back to the pocket knife, because I need to turn a corner here and make a more precise cut. These round parts are going to be a bitch. Ideally, you would need a Dremel for this, but I don't have a Dremel, and my broke ass can't afford one right now. Okay. Well, I'll tell you what, this wall is actually starting to give in to my knife a little bit. shit. Having to put all 250 pounds of my ass into this. Shit. Okay, almost there. Aha! We have a hole. See if the box fits. It will if I goddamn make it fit. There we go. Oh, you little son of a bitch. These goddamn screws up here. Well, I won't let them out. Fuck me. You snap. Ah! Ha ha ha. There we go. You just snap the motherfucker in. Now I gotta pull it back out because I gotta do the wiring. Now, that'll be fun. We're not going to watch every boring second of me pulling wire, so I'm going to get some wire pulled and come back to this video. Okay, I got the wire run. But man, it was a fucking bitch. Yeah, this room here, I don't give a fuck about making holes that are going to be crudely patched over, because this room here only ever gets used for storage. But I originally tried running the wire up through the ceiling here, but that wasn't happening. I kept hitting something up in here, and I just said, fuck it, I'm not going to tear this whole goddamn ceiling out to run this wire, so I just ran it across here, and I did manage to get it run across this short section of ceiling here, and out that hole. I used a piece of PEX tubing that was left over from when I did my plumbing to fish the wire through. I pulled the PEX through there and across here. Then I got the wire down and across here. That access was already cut, and so was that. Pulled it up here into the breaker panel, put in the 30 amp breaker for it. And remember, anytime you use a white wire as a hot wire, you need to recolor it in some way or another to re-identify it as a hot. In this case, I used red electrical tape, as white is for neutral only. You can see I did that on all neutrals that were used as hots. All this newer wiring you see here is my work. I ran a new 8 gauge line for the electric stove I put in, this new 12 gauge for the water heater, and I had to replace the power cord on the trailer because one of the hot wires was burned in two, so I had no 240 volt service. And then of course this is for the heater. Now this trailer only has 60 amp service, so that's why these wires are only 8 gauge. And yes, I know it's a 100 amp main, but it's protected outside by 60 amp cartridge fuses. And now I just gotta pull these wires into the box. Get the box mounted. Get the heater wired up. Well, unfortunately, this thermostat is a wire installation. It doesn't use any kind of screws or clamps, and I don't have wire nuts or any other kind of connectors, so I just have to do this fucking pain in the ass soldering, which is a real pain in the ass with solid 10 gauge wire. Well, luckily I've got a butane soldering torch that's powerful enough for the job. Got real good strong solder joints here. It's got to really heat that shit up good. See if the camera can see better without the light. I get out of the way of the ceiling light in here. Too close for it to get in focus. Yeah, when soldering stranded to solid wire, you really want to make sure that when you wrap it around like that, that you leave, let's see if I can get it to focus, that you leave yourself a little space for the solder to soak in and bond the stranded wire to the solid wire. Yeah, like I was saying before the camera cut out, you really don't want to get the solder directly in the flame. You want to make sure you heat the wire up and use the hot wire to melt the solder into the wire, because if you're just dripping solder onto the wire, you're going to get what's called a cold solder joint, because the solder isn't really going to be melted into the wire. It's just going to be kind of resting on top of it, and you're not going to get any kind of fusion. So try to keep the flame a little away from the solder. And then once I get the solder in, just to make damn sure I got good fusion, I'll hold the flame to the wire with the solder melted on it for a little bit to make damn sure it's soaking in. Let's get this at another angle. Ooh, that's bubbling the paint on the wall behind it. Need to turn my flame down. This place needs to be repainted anyway. Which really needs to be re-sheetrocked. But I don't intend on doing that, because hopefully I won't be in this trailer much longer. Just installing this electric heater just to get me by these few cold months before I move on to greener pastures. Get some more solder out. Oh yeah, that wire's nice and hot now. I'm just touching that solder to it without a flame, and it's just melting and soaking right in. Camera's light is kind of blinding me. Cool that off. Yep, that's got good fusion there. I'll just do that last one and tape them up. Well, there we go. Those are all soldered up now. It's a bit of a pain in the ass with this solder because this is more of a light duty electronics solder. This is more of what you use on like electronic circuit boards or wiring in your car, or something light duty, less than 18 gauge wire. It still works fine for this solid 10 gauge. You go through a lot of it because it's really thin. Still the same as the thicker stuff. Just get these taped up and get the wiring done over at the heater. All taped up. Oh my god, that's finally done. It was kind of a pain in the ass. The fucking box was so tight because I got a little too shallow of a box, but I didn't have much of a choice because these fucking walls are so thin. But really had to do some creative bending and shaping of the wires to get them along the sides of the box to get the thermostat to mount. And this was the only thermostat they had at Menard's that was adequate for that heater. They had a couple of digital line level thermostats, but the heaviest one they had was 3,000 watts at 240 volts. That's a 5,000 watt heater. This is the only thermostat that was capable of at least 5,000 watts. Well, now I just got to get the heater wired in, and this project will finally be done. It is now done. Let's go turn on the breaker. Hope like hell it doesn't flip right back off. And that's exactly what happened. Well, okay, there we go. Just had to flip it twice. Okay, let's try it out. On 72. It's running. It's got these adjustable louvers here, individually adjustable. Yeah, this was the cheapest little 220 heater they had at Menard's. It's like 66 bucks for that unit. Hopefully it'll be adequate. And for those of you that are thinking about commenting, well, that's hack work you did. Well, maybe so, but this whole fucking trailer is hack work. See that shit over there? Previous owner decided he was going to put him in a gas dryer. His way of doing so was to vent the dryer was to just bust out the window and then take a piece of 1/2-inch plywood, cut a hole in it for his dryer vent, and nail it over the window. And all I did to hide his sin was just staple up a a fucking 1967 piece of shit trailer like this. You don't want to spend a whole lot of time and money in it. You just do what you gotta do to make it functional. And some people might say, oh, that's a garage heater, it wasn't meant to be used in a home. Well, I needed a 220 volt or 240 volt good powerful heater because this fucking trailer is very poorly insulated and drafty. It's got these single pane aluminum windows. The walls are only 2 inches thick with crappy old fiberglass insulation, so I need some powerful heat in here, and here in central Illinois the winters can get brutal. Last winter it got down to -15. Well, there you have it. That's it for this video. Thanks for watching.